Now, most of us, we have two kind of faces. We have two selves. We have the professional self that shows up at work as polished, professional, and so on, and pretty unemotional. And then we have the personal, the private self that sticks its head out only when we think it's kind of safe to do so. And I think that, there's often been this idea that you really don't bring your private self to work. In fact, we kind of end up with the worst of both worlds. We end up with work completely invading our private lives and answering phone calls from the boss on the weekend and so on, so it completely evades our private lives, and yet we can't really bring our own selves to work. And yet I can tell you, if you're going through a divorce, if you're struggling with a child who's caught in addiction, if you've lost a parent, if you're facing a surgery, and you have to spend 8 or 10 hours at work and you can't talk about that, you suffer, your work suffers. You can't expect colleagues to be engaged in their work if they're not engaged with each other. There's a reason that the corporate stock ticker for Southwest Airlines is LUV. And Herb Keller, he said, a company is stronger if it's bound together by love instead of fear. Let me ask, in your organization, could you sit in a meeting tomorrow, coming back from this conference, could you say, or the next day, could you say to your colleagues at a point, what we really need is an organization that has a lot more love in it? I think you'd struggle with that. Most people would. Because the language of business has become so banal, so secular, so hollow, that we can't even talk about the things that are most important to us at work anymore. As Kelleher said, and he passed away about a month ago, he said, the tragedy of our time is that we've got it backwards. We've learned to love techniques and use people. So if you want to build a humanocracy, you've got to start with different principles. The goal of bureaucracy was to maximize control for the sake of efficiency. The goal of humanocracy is to maximize contribution for the sake of impact, and it takes a different set of principles. And you're not going to build these into your organization all at once.